We are doing a live session today regarding Migration Queensland 190 and 491 for this financial year. So I'll just wait for some people to join us. And if you can see me and hear me okay, can you please put it in the chat box? Okay, I can see that some people have joined us. Just making sure that we are live on both Facebook and YouTube as well. Okay, I can see some comments. Okay, so that's good. You can see me and hear me okay. So today's topic is Queensland 190 and 491. So as we all are waiting for Migration Queensland to open, we are also waiting for other states as well to open soon. So it's usually around mid-August or end August that most states will open. So if I look at last year, I think Migration Queensland opened first week of September. So we don't know if this will be the case this year as well, if they will really wait until September or they may open in a couple of weeks. So we are not sure yet. They have updated their website that they will be opening soon, and once they open, they will publish the new criteria on their website. They have also taken off everything from last year. So all the criteria, the criteria for each of the stream, so they have already taken it out from their website. So looks like there will be some updates. Now let's look at the criteria that they had last year, and then also look at maybe we can do some prediction what Migration Queensland's 190 and 491 criteria will look like this financial year. Also, we need to see that last year they had 5,000 seats and they were not able to utilize all the seats. So they had 5,000 seats available and they gave nominations to about 4,300 people. So almost, I think more than 600 seats got wasted, which is really not good for any state. I don't think there was any state who wasted their seats. I know New South Wales maybe did not use two of the seats, which is okay because they had a big number. They utilized a big number. But with Queensland, they had 5,000 seats. They were not able to utilize 5,000 seats last year, so which is really good. It also means that their criteria was a little bit strict. You know how they had proficient English requirement. They also have the criteria that you need to have full work rights to get a nomination from Migration Queensland. So if you're somebody who is on a student visa, you're not eligible for the nomination. So I will come back and do an Q&A as well at the end of the session. So if your questions are relating to Queensland, I'll be able to answer them. But if it's something else, then probably I'll be able to reply to them later. So as we all know that Migration Queensland has always had four streams. So they have skilled workers living in Queensland, then they have skilled workers living offshore, they have graduates of Queensland University, and then they have the small business owners operating in regional Queensland. So these are the four streams, and most probably I think they will stick to these streams. If you look at the skilled workers living in Queensland, so these are all these applicants who have been working in their nominated occupation from last 6 months with a 12 months job offer letter with a minimum of 80 points. They were being invited for a 190. If they had less than 80 points and they had 3 months work experience, 12 months job offer letter, they were being invited for a 491 as long as they met the minimum 65 points requirement. Again, depends on the occupation. Then they graduate of Queensland University. Then they had further substreams, like if you are a master's graduate in the STEM field, you were eligible for a 190 as well. But if you are a bachelor's graduate or master's, which is not a STEM field, then 491 as long as you have a job. So for a 491, um, you, as long as you're living and working in regional Queensland, a work experience, like a minimum duration of the work experience or employment, was not required if you're the graduate. But let's say if you're a master's graduate or a bachelor's graduate, and you did not meet the requirements of the graduates of the Queensland University because you wanted a 190, then you had to lodge under the skilled workers living in Queensland. So applicants had both these options. The graduates of Queensland University criteria. If they met that, they could go under that one, or they could go under the skilled workers living in Queensland. And then we also had the skilled workers living offshore open last year, before it was shut for a couple of years due to COVID. Now for offshore, they have a separate occupation list, and occupations, most of the occupations have some caveats. So, they may require 3 years work experience, they may require 5 years work experience, depending on the occupation. And they would also have the minimum points requirement, like for 190, 80 points. The small business owner as well had two streams. So one is that you have purchased an existing business. The business needs to be running for 2 years already when you purchased it, and you run the business for 6 months. You have to be the sole owner. You have to invest 100,000. You have to employ someone for 20 hours. It could be one person. It could be two people employed for 10 hours each, who are Australian citizens, permanent residents, or eligible New Zealand citizens. Now, with the small business owner, they had another stream, which is the startup business. For example, you have been running a business from last 2 years, and it's a startup business under your name. It's a profitable business, and your turnover for the last 12 months was 200,000. You can become eligible for the 491 under the small business owner stream. Now, some of you might actually meet this criteria. So it could be a good idea to get your profile assessed, get your business assessed. For small business owner, again, it's a skilled visa. So you do need to have, do need to meet the requirements of the points tested visa, under 45, competent English, minimum of 65 points and things like that. So you have to make sure that you meet that as well. So those were the four streams that we had last year. Now, like I said, most probably we will have these streams, but you know how for the skilled visa and like most of the occupations, they wanted proficient English unless you're a trade occupation. So they wanted a proficient English for a 190. So there is a high chance they may remove this requirement, considering that they were not able to fill the full quota. And I think also it's a higher requirement, like not everybody has got proficient English, but they may still have 75 or 80 points without having the proficient English, maybe because they have got a higher work experience. The other criteria I think it should really go away is that the applicants who are onshore, they need to have full work rights to get a nomination from Migration Queensland. I think it's not fair. All other states, they invite applicants on student visas as well. So why not Queensland? So again, if they did not have this criteria, probably they were able to meet their quota last year as well. But I think they should really take this criteria out. So that's another thing. Now with Migration Queensland, it has always been the case, but we will wait what they come up this year. But it has always been the case that they want you to lodge a fresh new EOI whenever they reopen. So you know how with other states, for example, New South Wales, even Western Australia, you could have the EOI in the system and it's valid for 2 years. They'll come to you whenever they come to you, whenever you pop up in their queue. But with Migration Queensland, it is not the case. So most probably when they will reopen, they would ask you to lodge a brand new EOI. Now, I do recommend that you do get professional help this year if you were not able to get your invitation from Migration Queensland last year. So there are a lot of things they look at. Your EOI is like your resume. This is what I always say. Make sure that you get your employment assessed from your skills assessing body. So if you're not getting your employment assessed from the skills assessing body and you're claiming points and your employment is not really in your nominated occupation or closely related occupation, you may have issues with the visas. If you have not got the employment assessed, at least get advice from a migration agent, what they think, like will you have any issues with the department when you're claiming points, or everything is good. Like we always recommend that you get your employment assessed. So that's something you may want to already look into. So maybe don't wait that Migration Queensland will open and then you will start the process. Already start taking the necessary steps. So if you already have 7 each, keep sitting for your English test to get 8 each, because you never know. Like at the start of the year, it's always competitive. So they will always pick up EOIs with higher points. And then, of course, towards the end of the year, they will start picking EOIs which are a little bit lower points. It will be interesting to see if they will invite applicants who don't have 80 points for 190. They might. So you never know. They may not have that 80 points criteria, because obviously, um, I mean, there were not that many applicants with 80 points and proficient English as well. So you can get in touch with us. You can book a face-to-face consultation in Brisbane with me, or you could do a Zoom consultation or phone consultation with any one of us. So we have a team of 4 to 5 registered migration agents. They all have worked with Migration Queensland. We do a lot of applications with Migration Queensland. So you will be able to get the right advice from us if you're looking to get professional help this financial year. So if you have any questions regarding Migration Queensland 190 and 491, I'm happy to take some questions today. Okay, so does Cairns come under regional Queensland? What are the chances for RN from James Cook University? Yes, it is under regional Queensland. So if you're a registered nurse, I know with Migration Queensland, they wanted 80 points for a 190, and a lot of registered nurses in Queensland, they got invited for a 189 with 65 points only. So let's see what the new criteria will be. But if not, Migration Queensland, and if you have 65 points, you can even try a 189. Okay, if you have any other questions, you can put it in the comments. Okay, so we do have another question here. Kindly mention the state's criteria requirements for 491 visa for mechanical engineer from offshore. So, because today we are talking about Queensland, so Queensland had this occupation open last financial year for offshore applicants, and they wanted 5 years post-study work experience. So, ideally, you would have your employment assessed from Engineers Australia, and for 190, they wanted 80 points or less points for a 491. So, I'm hoping that this occupation will still be open for offshore, but of course, like with our offshore clients, we always try in all states. So and then whichever state will invite you first, maybe go for that. Also depends if you're after a 190 or 491 and your own profile. So if you have a very good profile, you can try for a 190, but if you don't have like very high points, then you could try for a 491. Okay, Dheeraj is asking, any update on New South Wales 190 or 491? So we did a session, live session on New South Wales last Friday, as I was in our Sydney office last week. So right now there are no updates, but again, we kind of looked at the criteria from last year, because New South Wales, they normally don't change much. They may just come up with a new occupation list and the criteria could be the same, but I would just say go back and watch that session. And again, if you need help with New South Wales, you may contact our Sydney office for that one. Okay, Madhura is asking, will Queensland skill occupation list change for 2023-24 program? So last year, for the skilled workers living in Queensland, they had all the occupations open. So most of the streams, they had all the occupations open. I think it will probably be the same this year as well. In the past, they have always had a QSOL, which is the Queensland Skilled Occupation List, but Last year they did not have it. I think the year before also they did not have it. So very likely that all occupations will be open. But it also means that if, for example, you're applying for 190, then your occupation needs to be open for the 190 from the, the Department of Home Affairs occupation list. So it has to be open for that visa subclass to lodge a 190 nomination. Okay, Say is asking which states have started nominations. So, looking at our own data, I can already see that ACT did an invitation round in July, and Tasmania has also been sending invites. So, apart from these two states, I have not seen any invitations this financial year. Okay, I have launched my 190 Visa Victoria Analyst Programmer, launched on 10th March. How long it's going to take for the processing? I would say probably check the 190 processing time. If you have launched it on 10th of March, so I think you'll have to wait a little bit longer for this one. How about engineering technologist for offshore application? Will there be any chance? Engineering technologist, I'll have to see if it was open last year. Look, last year it was not open in Queensland, but it also doesn't mean that it will not open. And if it's not open in Queensland, you can always try some other state, because with engineering technologist, I'm sure it might be open with New South Wales 491, South Australia, even Western Australia. Okay, how about accountant general for offshore application for 75 points? So for accountant, there could be a chance. I mean, with Queensland for offshore, they were not open last year. But then again, it doesn't mean it will not open this year. But, I think you'll have better chances with that occupation in other states, like maybe New South Wales or South Australia or even Tasmania. But probably Queensland may not look very good for accountants for offshore applications. Okay, Rashmila is asking, could you please let me know when will be the next invitation round for 190 and 491 in Tasmania? So with Tasmania, they don't do any like monthly round like some of the states do it. So it's like you get the invitation like when you kind of when a case officer looks at your profiles. For example, with Tasmania, you would lodge the EOI, then you would also lodge the ROI. So when you lodge the ROI, it will depend if you meet the gold criteria, green criteria, or the orange priority, the attributes that they have got. And the more attributes you meet, the the less waiting period you will have before they'll actually invite you for the nomination. So when they invite you for the nomination, you will lodge the nomination application, and from that it may take 4 to 6 weeks. Okay, I'm actually just trying to pick questions relating to Queensland. Just want to keep this session for Queensland, but we will be doing another session for Tasmania on Friday. So if you have any questions regarding Tasmania, you may want to join a live session on Friday. Is the income threshold removed for Queensland for 491 to PR? So that income threshold requirement is removed for 491 visa. So 491 visa is not, I mean, doesn't matter which state. For any 491 visa, that is removed. Okay, Sumit, what are the chances for a management accountant 70 points, period English 190 or 491 visa? Any suggestions for way forward for management accountant? I had not heard much. So I'm not sure if you're in Queensland, but if you're in Queensland with 70 points management accountant, probably you may have to target a 491. And if you're offshore, then we'll have to see if this occupation will be open in Queensland or not. If not in Queensland, then we'll have to try other states. Any 190 retail pharmacist grants yet? Applied in late April, and no updates yet. Okay. I think we had a retail pharmacist, but I think that was a 491. 190 I have to check, but then I think you'll just have to look at the processing times on the Department of Home Affairs website, which gets updated every month. So if you have applied in April, I think you'll have to wait a little bit more. Okay, I can see some questions for other state. Okay, this is a very interesting question, Deviana. If we don't have the skills assessment yet, but we have the employer contract, can we lodge the EOI for Migration Queensland? So to lodge any EOI, any expression of interest, you have to have a skills assessment. So I know that, with the new recent case, you have 60 days to get the skills assessment renewed. But that's like the EY criteria is that you need to be holding a skills assessment. Okay, if it's expired, you have 60 days to do it. But if you've never had a skills assessment, I don't think you have got any basis to lodge your expression of interest. Okay, please tell me about teachers. A primary school teacher having 2 years of experience, 65 in PTE. So again, depends, are you onshore or offshore? But if you have got the skills assessment, you meet all the points tested visa requirement under 45 and things like that. I mean, and you have the minimum points, you have good chances. Doesn't matter if you're offshore or onshore. Okay, lodged 491 SBO on August 2022, but still waiting for the grant. Okay, so you are in that lot who actually just got forgotten. So we had some clients that we lodged last year and we have started to seeing the grants now. So now that they have started picking up the 491 visas, I think very soon you should get the grant of your 491 visa. Okay, I'll probably take a couple more questions. Section 56 processing finish, when will get my 491 visa? It depends. So I think when they send you the Section 56, it just goes back in the queue and then they go back to it when they get a chance. So I don't know if you can email them to give you a decision soon. That's fine as well. Okay, can I bring my parents with 491 SBO visa? Now, first of all, the 491 small business owner visa, that's for onshore applicants only, and you still have to meet the points tested visa requirement under 45 skills assessment, competent English. So, with any of the skilled visas, you can do a combined application with your spouse and your children, so the members of the family unit. So your parents are not considered members of the family unit. So the short answer to this question is no. I have below 3 years of experience offshore, so I haven't done employment assessment with EA. Will I have a chance to get invitation for 190? So for if you're talking about Migration Queensland, I think they had minimum 3 years work experience requirement for offshore applicant. So if they have the same this year, then probably no, because you need more experience than 3 years. But you could always try other states. Kunal, as you said, Queensland wasn't able to fill their quota, but I know few people having EOI with 90 plus points. Why they don't fill their quota this way? So it really depends, Kunal. So did they have proficient English? Did they meet the 6 months requirement? So for example, if somebody has lodged an EOI with 90 points, but let's say they were not even working in Queensland, doesn't matter how many points they have, Queensland will not invite them because for a 190 they need the 6 months work experience and the 12 months job offer letter, like if unless they are they graduate. Okay, let's take maybe one more. Because the visa time is too long for 491 after having positive skills assessment here in India, is it okay to go to Australia as a student visa after submitting EOI RY for 491? Other query is a next comment. Okay. If yes, then if we are in Australia, by doing that, can we do visa application while in Australia? Any negative side to do this? or is it better that we go to Australia after doing visa application here? No, that's fine. So if you've got a skills assessment and if you're here on a student visa, that's fine. It's just that you will then be considered as an onshore applicant. You cannot lodge the expression of interest as the offshore applicant because now that you have got a visa to Australia, a student visa, so you are onshore applicant. Other thing I would check is before you take a student visa, if Migration Queensland comes back and says, oh, we are not inviting student visa holders, then make sure not to come to Queensland. Then you're better off going to another state which invites applicants who are on student visas and probably don't even need a job in their field to get the invitation. So again, this is something that you will get advice on before you start this process. Okay, I'm just looking for maybe one more Queensland related. Ashish is asking, does Queensland prioritize graduates of Queensland University? Yes, because they have a separate stream. So if you're a graduate of Queensland University, you need to have the completion letter in the last 2 years. And if you have done masters, then it needs to be in a STEM qualification to qualify for a 190. Then in that case, you don't have to meet that 6 months work experience as long as you're currently working in your nominated occupation. They will consider you for a 190. Otherwise you'll have to go for a 491, but you still need a job in your nominated occupation. Now because you have to fill out that form, so they get the notification when any of the graduate applies with them, but it's just that you have to make sure that you're actually the graduate because you need to have completed your studies in the last 2 years. And we saw many invites, like most of our graduates, they got invited as long as they met the criteria. So I think it will be the same this year as well. Okay, I'll probably finish this session now. But if you are looking at starting the process for 190 or 491 with Queensland, I would say probably get in touch with us. You can go to our website, somandua.com.au, and book a consultation there. You have the option to pick a face-to-face, online, or Zoom session with me or one of our migration agents here in in the office. You can also give us a call to book a consultation, but like I just recommended before, it's better to start the process now because once Migration Queensland will open, then it will get really busy because our priority will be to launch the EOIs, and it's better to have all the documents and everything prepared already so that when they open, then we are in the position to submit the EOI on the same day. So good luck to everyone, whoever is waiting for the invitation this year. I think this year is looking very positive, and I hope that all of you who meet the eligibility get invited this financial year.